Hi, I'm Steve Caseley from CBT Nuggets, and this MicroNugget is focused on pair programming, probably one of the most misunderstood, most criticized aspects of Agile Scrum Development. But through this MicroNugget, I hope to show you why pair programming is such a good idea and convince you to give it a try. But first, what is pair programming? By the very name, pair programming has two developers working on a single story. You have two developers working on the story, sitting at a common PC, sitting at a common workstation with a common keyboard, and the two developers combined will produce a single story, the working code for a single story. You may say, well, that's wasteful. Why don't I have two developers working on two stories and get twice as much code created? The reason for pair programming is we're going to generate much better code, and we generate much better code because we have one person driving, we have one person writing the actual code, and we have another person navigating, looking on, offering suggestions, validating the code is written, and basically doing built-in, automatic, on-the-fly QA, peer review, and mental testing. The key is we don't have a senior developer working as the driver and a new junior developer working as the navigator, as a training aid. Both members of the pair are equals. Even if one of the developers happens to be more experienced, in order for pair programming to work, we have to work as equals, and we have to be willing to shift often. Let that junior person work, let the senior look over their shoulder and offer suggestions for improvement, as opposed to just say, here junior, watch me work and learn from my magnificence. It has to be an equal sharing. And as I've already discussed, I believe there are a lot of really good reasons why we pair program. It has built-in peer review. It has better thought out code. The navigator is looking ahead. The navigator is saying, what can we do better? How can I improve this? What's the next step? Make sure, validate. Errors are absolutely caught earlier. We fix the errors while the fingers are still on the coding keyboard. We're not fixing the errors later on in test. And because we want to have automated sharing, we want to have code transferability, we have better knowledge sharing because we now have two developers understanding every piece of code. So let's see how this pair programming works. And with 1,000 apologies for my lack of artistic capacity, here is pair programming in action. We have two developers, developer 1 and developer 2, sitting in front of a single keyboard, and I deliberately drew my monitor huge because, again, I believe we need a very large monitor because we can't get as close to it because we have to respect personal space, so we need a slightly larger monitor to allow our pairs to work effectively together. And we start off. So team member number 1 is the driver, says, I need to write an edit. Grabs the keyboard and starts to write the edit. And looking over the shoulder, team member 2 says, write, but don't forget, as part of doing the edit, you also need to do so and so and so and so. Team member number 1 says, there, I think that does it. Team member 2, doing the automatic peer review, says, absolutely. Now we need to update the database. Let me have a try at that. Let me give it a go. So we eliminate that scenario, and we now move on to the scenario where this team member is in the driver's seat, says, okay, this SQL statement should do it. This team member is now looking over their shoulder, doing the validation, saying, yes, basically that SQL statement does it, but don't forget, you also need to do a join on the such and such and such and such table. Team member number 2, still in the driver's seat, says, right, really glad you caught that. i.e. the built-in automatic peer review. We now have fixed a defect. We fixed a failing test case while the fingers are still on the keyboard, and my two team members are still focused on absolutely what's required to get the job done. My two team members are working very well together, and we move on to the next scenario. Team member 1 says, okay, it's my turn. My fingers are itchy. What's next? And team member 2 says, well, I think we need to, and get ready to move on. So again, very simplistic, very contrived scenario, but I believe this shows how pair programming can absolutely drive the value. This shows me how 2 heads are better than 1. We've caught the mistakes, and evidence has shown that 2 people working together in a pair environment will actually deliver more quality code per day of effort than 2 people working independently. They don't deliver more code, but they deliver more quality code. They deliver more test-ready code. They shorten the test sequence in our project. And that's where pair programming really adds its value. This concludes our discussion on pair programming. I hope this information has been informative for you, and thank you very much for viewing.